What happened to your school bully? I haven't heard from her in a decade now. She's not on Facebook as far as I know, but about 20 years after high school I walked past her in the mall and she said to the people she was with, loudly enough for me to hear, "I never liked her." I was like, WTF? Really? 20 years later and you're still at it? He ended up becoming a very normal nice guy. Went to med school and is a successful doctor. I ran into him at a bar a few years ago and he apologized profusely for the hell he put me through in grade school. I really appreciated the gesture since I was convinced he was a sociopath and never thought twice about it. So I cancelled my plans to kill him and his entire family. This guy made my life hell in elementary. After high school, he appeared to be reformed and apologized. He even seemed very nice and went on a few dates with my former roommate. I still got a seriously creepy vibe from him, the kind of vibe where you know you shouldn't be alone with him. I thought I was just being judgy. Turns out I was right. He's now in jail for rape, impersonating an officer, and arson. I had two. One ended up in jail for selling meth and beating his girlfriend. Good riddance. The other one went to college and became a chemical engineer. He messaged me on Facebook a while back and apologized for being a douche in high school, which I accepted. Has a wife and a kid now, seems to be doing good for himself, so I am happy for him. He convinced a guy to fake a drug deal with him. They killed a guy with a shotgun and dumped the body. Both ended up getting life in prison. It's a pretty sad story. Saw him working at McDonald's a couple years later. Asked for McChicken sauce and he gave me a whole bag full of them. Debt paid. A few years out of high school he somehow ended up paralyzed and in a wheelchair. One of my friends dated him for a while. Then a few years later his dad murdered him. I had a guy contact me after I graduated who apologized for bullying me in high school and was having a tough time since graduation because he didn't have any friends. I think he got the wrong guy because I didn't even remember who he was. I do wonder if he's doing better sometimes. Huh, I don't remember you at all. That's a power move. He pestered me for like 2 years, finally I hauled off and punched him in the face during gym class. We both got detention and ended up becoming really good friends in the process. Still not sure how it happened, teenagers are weird. Anyway, he runs a brewery now. Rachel was breaking the lock off my locker every day in high school. I could never prove it was her, though. I went home for Christmas one year and needed a haircut, so I walked into a salon, and there she was. Her face lit up with that malignant smile she had in high school, and I turned around and walked out. No thanks. Which one, lol? One got married young because he knocked a girl up, but they seem happy, 3 kids now. I see him occasionally and he's still an asshole. The other one is a pothead living with his dad and I don't ever run into him because he never leaves the house anymore. The third one died because he was drunk driving and I pass his little white cross daily. My school bully lived next door to me back in the 80s in Southern California. She was a mean girl who meanly recruited even my friends to join in bullying me until I moved away at 15. She was just a terrible person who took my already shitty home life and made it so much worse by ruining my school life, including my walking to and from school life. I looked her up on Facebook and she is still very pretty and runs a successful looking real estate business, and even though I really like my life now, I couldn't help but think this is not how this is supposed to work. Oh well, maybe she is nicer now. Kid down the street tortured my brother. Threw rocks at him, beat him up, emotionally and verbally attacked him. My parents had to talk to his parents about it a few times. They seemed just as lost on what to do as my parents. My brother was the kid that didn't have friends until basically after high school, when he started meeting with people he met gaming and had similar interests as him. Kid down the street ended up going to a different high school. We didn't hear much from him, though I knew his family hadn't moved. Randomly one day he rode his bike up to our house and rang the doorbell and apologized for everything. Really heartfelt and genuine. I don't think he became a successful person, but I know he's still alive and hanging around the area we grew up in, but obviously, and hopefully truly, he learned from his mistakes. She was a classic mean girl who constantly talked behind people's backs and stirred up fights between people just for fun. I tried my best to stay on her good side, but she still picked on me quite a bit. Later I found out she was also a closeted lesbian who was nursing a crush on me. We had a bit of a relationship in which I found out she actually had a really tough home life and acted out compulsively. By graduation she had figured herself out and actually had a solid friend group. Now she's in grad school, doing well. I'm really happy for her. She is 400 pounds. She used to call me Orca. I was a bit chubby in middle school but not obese. That was a great moment running into her. I looked hot that day. She didn't. He became a teacher at our old high school. Started trading grades for sexual favors with some of the teenage girls in his classes. One had a boyfriend who became rather upset about the situation and went to the police. Former bully is still doing time, and be a registered sex offender when he gets out. He only bullied me for a little bit, because he stopped after I kneed him in the balls. I found out later that he was from a broken family and felt bad for him. He has a little girl and his own non-broken family now. I'm happy for him. He has a little girl. Guess you didn't knee him very hard. Wouldn't call them full-on bullies because they never kicked my ass or anything, but they diminished and demeaned me enough to the point that I should have kicked their asses. No physical altercations, just complete jerks. One grew up to be an addict that manages to keep repeating a cycle of expensive rehab then relapse on his wealthy parents' dime. Been at it a decade, he doesn't appear to want help. He just knows if he does the charade every now and again they will stay off his back. The other went to a good school, played college baseball, married a really pretty girl he met there, got a high-paying job in advertising, and even has a nice-looking dog FFS. He's still a smug prick, which makes it all the grosser lol. In elementary school, this absolute shit stain of a human being named Chad, real name, because fuck him, bullied me relentlessly. It may seem silly now, but pillow butt and luggage to a 4th grader was absolutely devastating. He bullied my entire group of friends, but I always felt like I had it the worst. In high school chemistry class, Chad threw sulfuric acid in another kid's face for fun. Chad was expelled, and the victim suffered permanent burns. Now, Chad runs a highly successful business close to our hometown, with a beautiful wife and a really cute kid. I'm not sure how happy he is, but externally, it looks like karma took a hard pass on Chad. Whether or not he's a true sociopath I have no idea, but unfortunately, Chad's doing just fine. He became a dad. His daughter is now in junior high. She is the same age as I was when I was bullied. He found me on Facebook and apologized for the way he treated me when we were kids. His daughter is getting bullied in junior high and comes home in tears every day. It made him realize he put me through every day when we were 11. It was closure for me. I've told this story on a deleted alt, but it bears repeating. One of my main bullies in high school was a hot shit hockey player who, along with his jock buddies, basically ran the school. I'll give credit where credit is due. When I say hot shit, I mean he was hot shit, as in he was expected to actually go pro and be the next Gretzky. Now, in a fit of self-abuse, I looked him up a few years ago on FB and found that he was the assistant coach of some shitty CCHL team. I thought that was odd, so I reached out to a mutual acquaintance for the whole story. Turns out that a year or so out of high school he blew out his knee while at practice. It was a horrendous injury that killed any shot of him ever going pro. While I try not to take pleasure in bad things happening to people, this prick made my life hell for 2.5 years until I turned 16, took control of my educational future, and switched out of the Catholic board into the public board. It's been 14 years since I've seen him and I still wouldn't piss on him if he were on fire. One became a discount 5'4" Eminem SoundCloud rapper. One became a single mother of 3 boys all from different dads. One got in a 4-wheeler crash but is fine now. I saw one at my work. He does nothing but post bong smoking vids on Instagram, apparently is abusive to women too, according to another one of my bullies who used to date him. the biggest bully at my school, that for some reason never dogged on me when everyone else did, died from alcohol and pills while partying after he moved. I kept in touch with him all throughout the rest of his life after I switched schools. He was a closet RuneScape player that would scam people for their rings and give them to me back in 2007. Played League of Legends with him too a few times.